not letting it click that, okay, she's trying to be here for me because maybe she can't signal that distress, I'm in distress, and you keep throwing daggers, you finna get daggers. You finna get
All right.
daggers.
Which is fair.
Right, because now I'm not gonna take myself out of it. I'm gonna put myself back in it. Now I got a whole attitude. And then when you see my attitude change and then I start feeding it back to you, that's when I start getting the softer version of you. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Life After I Do. I'm your host, Anisha G, and I'm here with...
Lethal.
Hey y'all.
Your husband.
Yes, my husband. Life After I Do is a weekly podcast that we discuss all things marriage and relationship.
And that thing.
He's so random. How you doing, babe?
Groovy, baby.
Austin Powers, really?
Groovy, baby.
How was your week?
It was good.
Nothing eventful happened?
No, just life.
Life be lifing, huh?
Just be lifing.
Well, yeah. Well, I had it wasn't eventful or anything like that, but I had a pretty good week. Our daughter just went through her first round of evaluations for gymnastics, and I got her evaluation sheet back. And so far she's doing good. There's a couple of things that she needs to work on. So I was really proud of her for, getting most of her checklists done, and she was pretty proud of herself. So I would say that was probably the highlight for me. Other than that, just, kind of like the daily routines of things, all the things you got to get done for the house and get done for the kid, the husband, all of that.
I will say a highlight for me were the salmon bites yesterday.
Okay, those salmon bites were fire. So at Sam's Club, they sell these salmon bites. You can just put them like in the oven, or you can put them in the air fryer, and they were so good. You just bake them on. I put them in the oven, so you bake them on 450 if you want them extra crispy, and I wanted mine extra crispy, so I baked it on 450 for 18 minutes.
They're like
fire.
They're like gourmet fancy fish sticks.
I didn't even think about that.
Instead of like cod, it's salmon.
Right. That is true.
It's bougie gourmet fish sticks.
Yeah, sure.
And I like eating all things bougie. So
sure. I wouldn't call them bougie, but yes, they're good. If you guys shop at Sam's Club, or if you have a Sam's Club membership, definitely check out those salmon bites, because they are so
good. This episode is not sponsored by Sam's Club.
It is really not.
I'm just saying that those bites are fire.
Oh, also the fried pickle ranch dipping.
No, that's trash.
Okay. I think it's good. But anyway, let's get into it today, because we've got some things to get into today. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about losing connection with your partner and reconnecting with your partner. Your relationship will constantly go through ebbs and flows. And when I think back on when I hear people who have been in marriages like 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years, and they talk about doing the work, I think this is like one of those things where quote unquote work comes in at, right? Because you're not always going to be connected. You're not always going to see eye to eye. You're not always going to have the same views. The things that connected you in the beginning may not be what keeps you connected. So it's important to recognize when you have lost connection. And we all know when we ain't connected to our partner, or when we not feeling our partner. But it's also important to try to put in those bumpers on when to reconnect with my partner. Like, we can't let it go on for too long, So that's what we'll be talking about. So when we talk about losing connections with your partner, what does that look like? What does that look like, babe? What does it look like?
It's something that happens gradually over time. Once You get into like the hustle and bustle of daily life, the routines, the when life hits, especially like if you're in a dynamic where you're both working, or if one person's working, one person's always with the kids, and then once the kids have schedules of their own, and now you're trying to mesh life together as a family, it becomes real easy to be disconnected because you don't really have time to invest in your partner the way you were before life happens, before the kids came along, before all the responsibilities and the weight of those responsibilities actually hit home. So it's quite easy to be disconnected if you're not taking the time to invest, daily into your partner in some way, shape, or form.
Right. So for us, that could look like shorter tempers, right? That can look like being closed off. What do we mean by being closed off? Like when you're trying to interact with your partner and it's short answers, right?
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, nobody says good morning. Nobody wants to give each other a kiss. It's almost like, I'm not going to give in. You're not going to give in. It's cool. I'm straight.
It's like a silent beef. It's like a silent beef with no beef.
It's like a silent beef with no beef. Um, I know you had said to me when we were talking about this before, unmotivated love.
Yeah.
What is that? Like dive
It's
into
like
that.
it's like you like it's like I love you. I'm just not motivated at the time. I have no motivation at the time um to to show you or to do things that show you I love you because maybe I haven't been happy with the way things are going, or I have the outside world is really beating me down, so I don't really have the motivation to really um I don't have the motivation to really get outside of myself and actually see what's happening, because us as humans, what happens often is that we let the outside influences and the outside stresses bog us down, that we don't really see the effect that it's having on our relationships within the house. Not just with our partners, but also with the kids. Like we become distant because we're worried about the stresses that are in our life. So we don't really have um, a keen understanding of what's happening in the moment. That's what I mean by unmotivated love. It's not that I don't love you. It's just that because my weight right now is so heavy from the things from the outside, once I walk through this door, I have no motivation, and then now it gets exponentially harder for me to drop that weight at the door than it normally would. And that this is something that happens in waves, because sometimes life will get hard. Like we all go through these phases where we feel like everything is happening at one time and it's back to back to back to back. And if you're not careful, you can lose sight of the things that really matter, and like of the components of the inner components of your relationship, because you're dealing with the outside influences.
Right. I could see that. It's almost like in some ways, like when you said like distancing yourself, it's almost like a, for lack of a better word, self-preservation type thing,
Yeah.
but except you're trying to shield us or the house away from the
Right.
weight that you're carrying,
Right.
right? But in turn, when you do that, it affects your
Right.
mood, it affects your temperament, it affects your attitude. And then when you think you're protecting us, you're also like hurting feelings,
Right.
because when we ask you a question, you're short tempered, or when we ask you to do something, there's like a rolling of the eyes or you got an attitude. Then in turn, for me personally, what does that do to me?
You match energies.
I match energies.
So but this is what we
I match energies, y'all. That's what I do.
but
You give me attitude, and
but
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 sometimes
that
like
goes both ways.
it goes
I
both
match
ways.
your energy as well.
It goes both ways. But if you give me attitude, and especially when I've come at you and I'm trying to be like loving and I'm trying to be like, I can recognize that there's something going on with my husband. But so, listen here, petty Patty gets a hold of me just like she gets a hold of other people. I match energies. You give me attitude, guess what? You get attitude back. And it's not always something that's like immediate. he can give me attitude and I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna let it slide
Well,
because I know he's
you are
probably
good.
stressed out. He's probably stressed out about something. So let me just,
I will say that you are good at giving me grace,
yeah.
and then like sometimes I have to check myself, or you be like, look here, what the fuck is your problem?
Right. I will. I will because at that point it becomes unfair,
Right,
right? It becomes unfair when just like how you always say you're my husband and you have to cover me and you want to protect me as your wife, I still feel like it's my job to cover and protect you. So when I come to you and I'm coming to you because I can clearly see the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're stressing about how, you're going to keep like take care of the house to make sure I have what I need, to make sure our daughter has what she needs. And I'm trying to come to you in a comforting way. And I'm met with, just negative energy, a bad vibe, short answers. It's like, okay, you know what? Let me take myself out of it and just breathe, because the whole point of me trying to come to interact with you is not about me. It is about you. And I'm just trying to translate that to you through my actions. Right.
right.
But then when you keep not letting it click that, okay, she's trying to be here for me because maybe she can't signal that distress, I'm a distress, and you keep throwing daggers, you finna get daggers. You finna get
Okay,
daggers.
which is
Because,
which is fair,
right, because
which is fair.
now I'm not gonna take myself out of it. I'm gonna put myself back in it. Now I got a whole attitude. And then when you see my attitude change and then I start feeding it back to you, that's when I start getting the softer
Yeah,
version of you. That's when I start
Eh,
getting,
but
come here, babe.
but that
I just need a
but
hug,
that's what I
babe.
mean. Like that's what I mean. Like I don't, I can't comprehend what I'm doing to you until your mood changes. Because
Right,
I'm like, okay, if her energy's shifting, I've done something to shift her energy.
right.
So maybe I have been lacking in communication these last couple of days, or whatever the case may be, to put her in this type of mood. Like that's one thing I have understood and realized in our marriage is like 9 out of 10 times if you have a change of attitude directed towards me, it's because I have been giving you attitude, whether intentionally or subconsciously. I've been giving
Hmm.
you attitude. So that is one thing that I have recognized, but that is also one thing that can like, it's kind of like I realize now, like, okay, I wasn't giving her the energy that she required because I was dealing with X, Y, Z, and that caused a disconnect between us.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like I have to be disrupted from what I expect from you in order to correct the initial disruption,
Which was you.
which was me, so
Right.
that we can reconnect and get back on the same
Right.
page.
Because there's something that I had heard, and it's true. Um, your partner can also be a direct reflection, like of you, like the things that you don't like in your partner or that you see as an issue with your partner, whether it be how they respond to how they respond with their temper to certain things, or something like that. It's something that's already in you that you also have probably not dealt with. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? So
Hmm.
when you talk about how you can recognize the shift in my attitude, it's also because I'm mirroring back to you something about yourself that you need to address,
Hmm.
right? So the anger that you're getting from your wife, now you can say, okay, I've must have set something off to get this attitude shift.
Right.
And if she's feeding me anger, let me take a look at my own anger.
Well, I will say this: I do give us credit that we do both have a moment like we'll look at each other and I'm like, "What's the deal?" Or
Yeah.
you look at me like, "What's the deal?"
Yeah.
And it's like, even if like you don't want to tell me at that time, I'm like, okay, cool. You'll be like, I'm just dealing with something.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that because I know eventually you're going to come to me and you're going to say these words exactly. Babe, can I have a safe space? Can
Yeah.
I just tell you?
I just need to
And
talk.
right, and that's when I know like okay, now she's ready to tell me what was happening. But I always like the difference between I would say the difference between us is like I may be quick to temper or short anger and be short to anger and short with you in words, but when it's the flip side with you, you just distance yourself completely.
Hmm.
Like you just keep to yourself because you're trying to process your thoughts and your feelings on whatever it is you're going through, and that rubs me the wrong way because I'm like, well, Like
Feels like I'm shutting you out. Yeah.
I'm being closed out. What have I done to be closed out?
Right.
Right. So
Right.
then in return, now it's like the first example all over again, but now you're the catalyst. So
Mhm.
now I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna shut me out, then
Yeah.
okay, did you want
I'll
the
do my
smoke?
own thing too.
If you want the smoke, here's the smoke.
Yeah.
Like I'm finna give you the short response.
Yeah.
I'm finna give you your space too. Don't come up in here asking me for nothing.
But it's because I also deal with a lot of internal dialogue, like most all of us do. And what I'm trying to be mindful of, especially now in this phase of our marriage, is to try to look at things from all angles. And you can't look at things from angles that you can't see.
Right.
But I try to just like take a moment, like when I know I'm feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, like with things within the house or whatever, I try to take a moment and process it in my head. Like, okay, I know that if I come at him this way, I'm going to be met with this. Like, let me just sit with how I'm feeling for a second, get my thoughts together, and see how I want to approach the situation and see how I want to approach him with what it is that I'm feeling so that he can hear me. Because the whole point is, I want you to be able to
Mhm.
hear me and not feel like, I'm like you're being attacked or feel like I'm just dumping,
Right.
everything onto you, because I know what that's like, from our past. I know what that's like too. If I just come straight at you with exactly how I'm feeling at the time, you immediately start feeling defensive and you start feeling like you're attacked. And then now it becomes a situation where you have to defend yourself
Yeah, you
instead
go
of
with the raw raw.
right. You're gonna have to defend yourself instead of you actually hearing where I'm coming from when I'm trying to express to you, like, as your partner, I'm not doing good.
Mhm.
As your partner, this whole situation that we have set up is becoming very overwhelming. It's pushing me into a place where I don't like, and I know how this is gonna end up affecting us because it's affecting me. So before we get to that point, this is what I've been thinking. This is why I was behaving the way that I was. I wasn't trying to shut you out. I was just trying to make sure I was good so that when I came to you, we can have this conversation on a level head. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Because I mean, regardless of what's being said, like you said, if you would approach me with raw raw with the smoke, like people need to understand, like tone
oh yeah.
and intensity matters. So like I think spoke about it a little bit on the previous episode. Like I understand that I don't address you a certain way. I understand. Sorry, I understand that I have to address you or the problem a certain way to actually get you to hear me.
Right.
Right? I can't come in full force and put you in a place where you're like you said, where now you feel you have to be defensive because I'm
Hmm.
attacking you. I need to put you in a mind space of okay, well, he's trying to be understood, he's trying to
Right.
be heard. And I think we both now recently do a good job of that, of trying to just like,
We've gotten better.
right, we've gotten better.
We've
Like
gotten
to the
better.
point to where it's like, hey, we need to have this discussion because certain things are going on and I'm feeling this way, you're feeling this way. We need to get an understanding because a lot of times we just interpreted things different.
Yeah, because there's always internal dialogue
Right.
happening. And that's what happens when communication breaks down. And the number one thing when losing connection is also losing communication. And when you're not communicating, you're on your side having a whole dialogue about what you think is happening. I'm on my side having a whole dialogue about what I think is happening. Like you're taking it like, oh, now she don't want me to touch her. And in my mind, I'm just like going through all the things that I did today, all the things I didn't get done, and still trying to compartmentalize everything and have the energy on how I'm going to figure out to get everything done tomorrow. But now this is the case right now, and you want to have us time. And I'm like, but that's not where my headspace is. And you're just like, oh, well, now she's rejecting me. She doesn't want me. It's not that I don't want you. It's not that I'm rejecting you. It's that literally I have a laundry list of things going on in my brain, and it's just like it's hard.
And I
But that's where
and
communication comes from.
and I understand that, but to counter that, it's like that goes both ways. Like
Yeah.
you expect me to be able to shut my brain off when you just want me to watch a movie with you.
Yeah.
When you just want me to watch a show with you.
Yeah.
You expect me to like not think about everything I'm thinking about
Right.
and focus just on
On
you.
the now and on the
Right.
moment. And
Right.
that's fair.
Right. And it's like, okay, even in times when I do that, I often feel like this is not reciprocated all the time,
Right.
because if you're at your desk trying to figure out something and you feel like you're just swamped, you're not gonna pick that weight up off your shoulder and sit on the couch and come hang out with me.
Right.
You're gonna say, "Babe, I need time to deal with this."
Yeah.
Right?
And then
But
I can make time for
right,
this.
but I'm not always given that same grace.
That's
and
fair.
and we've had conversations about
Yeah,
that,
that's
and
fair.
that always creates a disconnect. That's
Mhm.
why I've I've started to adjust like how I act or how I move in certain situations. Like I've learned that if I ask you to do something and you don't do it like in the time that I wanted you to be done,
Mhm.
right? It's not that I understand that it's not that you didn't want to do it. It's just that you're thinking about this, that, whatever, and the third. But if I take the action of starting to do that said thing myself,
Yeah, but
now
that
now
goes both ways.
now you're in your feelings.
Yeah, but see, and here's the thing that I think about on the other end, right? Depending on what it is you're asking me to do, okay? So, like let's say just throwing it out there, laundry, right? And you're like, "Oh, my laundry needs to be done." Okay, well, I do your laundry like every week. I'm the person who does the laundry in the house, right? So, for you, it's like, "Okay, today is Monday." And you have enough uniforms or whatever to get you through the week, but you just see your laundry like piling up right there and you're like, okay, but my laundry needs to be done. And in the back of my mind I'm saying your laundry is going to get done. You always have what you need for the week. Since I'm the only person that does it, I get to do it when I do it. Like that's how I'm thinking in my
Right.
brain. But in your brain, you're like, I don't understand why you just won't get the laundry done right now
Well,
because like clearly
because
there's loads that need to
right,
be
because
washed.
in my brain I'm like, hey, there's something in there that's dirty that I want to use this week, but
Right,
I need it to be
but
clean.
that's not what you say.
Right, right. I know I don't say that exactly because I'm like, well, you're not going to just wash a couple items of clothing. You're going to wash all the
Right,
clothing.
right,
So I'm like, if I come to you and say, hey, I need this done, and you're not doing it, well, it's like, well, I'm only going to give it a day or two, and then
right.
come Tuesday night, I'll walk in from work and throw some clothes on line,
Right, but if you
and
would
then
have
you'll
said
put
to
some stuff
me,
away.
if you would say to me, "Hey, babe, there's a shirt in there that I want to wear by Wednesday. Can you do my laundry before Friday like you would normally do because I want that article of clothing?" Then I would do it. But when you blanketly say something that I'm responsible for that I do every single week, you say, "Oh, my laundry needs to be done." In my mind, I'm like, "Yes, your laundry needs to be done.
So
I do the laundry every week." So I'm the only person that
right.
does it. So I'm going to do it when I get to it, but you're
So
going to have what you need for the following week. That's the dialogue I have in
so
my head.
this is obviously a disconnect that
Right.
we're having right here, right?
Right, but that's
So,
just
but
one facet of a
right.
disconnect.
But what I'm
Yes.
hearing is that you want me to be more intentional with my words when I give you
You need
when
to
I tell
be
you what I need.
more detailed with your words.
Okay.
So, if you're making a blanket statement like my laundry needs to be done, in my mind I say, "Yes, your laundry needs to be done. I'll do your laundry Friday." But in your mind you're thinking about the blue shirt that you want to wear on
Well,
Tuesday. You need to say, "Hey, babe, I know you normally do laundry on Friday. Can you try to get my laundry done by Monday night so that I can wear that shirt Tuesday morning?" And then I could say, "Okay, let me go ahead and rearrange. And maybe I won't do her laundry on Monday night. I'll do your laundry Monday night and then do hers Friday."
I will say this. Like I I go out my way to give you as much grace as possible when it comes to things like laundry and housework because I know I'm not contributing
We'll get into that
much
too.
much if nothing at all to those things. So I don't really necessarily complain. And it's not like
But it's not you complaining, it's just saying what you need.
right. But I'm saying like but to I mean I guess to your standard, like things are for the most part always put together.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have to like come in and say, well, this isn't done right, or dinner wasn't this, or the house is this,
Yeah.
or like it's not like something that we always have to talk about. So it's like I understand like if I come in from, working, 12, 13 hours a day, a couple days in a row, and I come in and things are I was like, okay, well, it was a rough day. Especially like I automatically know if it's a Tuesday, like I don't expect nothing on Tuesday
Oh, because she
because
has
I
to
know
cook
like
and food stuff.
you had errands to run,
Yeah.
then she had practice, you didn't get home to 6:37. Like
Yeah.
what can I expect of you? Because I know Tuesdays are like boom, but I'm like okay Wednesday when she gets out early and you got a lot of time in the day where
You don't know what I did today. You don't know. You don't know what I
so,
had
like,
going
I'm
on.
not gonna say nothing on Tuesday, but Wednesday I'm gonna give you a little grace. But come Thursday, I'm gonna say something.
Come Thursday, we need to talk about this cup that's been sitting in the same spot for 72
We gonna
hours.
have to, and before y'all say, well, why don't you just move the cup? I didn't put it there.
We gonna get into that too. Don't worry. So yeah, so going back to like losing connection, spending less time together, the daily routine, having opposite schedules, like all of that I think are really major contributors to like spending less time together. But I would say, me personally, the first thing outside of communication is the spending less time together. So
Yes.
we like to call it our bubble time. So when we start recognizing, like, okay, we already said temperatures can run high, we're starting to feel closed off, we're starting to be short responses with each other. It's because we need bubble time. We're not spending enough time together to reconnect. We're not spending enough quality time together without our child, time together not in the house, time together where it's just us on our own, where we can just be Kynesha and Maurice. That's it. Nobody else needs to be around. We don't need to do a double date. We don't need to do any. We need time where it's just us, to be
Right.
two people who like love each other, right?
And oftentimes, like those little quick dates that we often do,
Yeah.
like the coffee dates or the
We
quick
good
lunch,
about quick dates.
right? Like a lot of times, like that, those will hold us over.
Yeah.
But it's
But
like
even those start to get like, okay, because in my mind, I'd be like, don't be thinking that all these little quick dates we've been having constitutes
they do. They're
like,
dates.
see, you see what I
Dates.
mean? You see what I go, you see what I go through? You see what I go through?
They're dates.
No, they're mini dates. They're mini dates.
Okay, which is a smaller version of a regular date. So,
But
so the
I
formula
always
is
have to go back.
X amount of mini dates equals an actual date.
How
So,
that works
if
at
I give
all.
you 4 to 5 mini dates in the
Mhm,
week, that's
mhm.
the equivalent of me giving you
That's
one
not how that
date
works.
night.
That's not how that works at all. That's not how that works at all.
The math is mathing.
The math don't math.
The math is mathing.
But you know, at least, but the mini dates are still very impactful because it gives us time to have conversation on our own. It gives us time to reconnect and talk about like the goals we've set, or if there's something on our minds that we need to talk about that we've been feeling lately, or something that we're going through, or a problem that we're trying to get to a resolution on. It gives us that independent time to get back to the basics
Right.
of us.
And right, and like to go back to what you were saying about opposite schedules, it's like even though you are a stay at home mom, it's like I recognize that you get a lot of your work done once the house settles down.
Oh,
So
you talk about, because I've that's pretty much been the hot
right,
topic of the
right,
week.
right. So I understand that you're gonna wait until bedtime to be like, okay, you and your daughter go to sleep. I'm gonna go downstairs and do what I need to do.
Yeah, so the house can be reset for the next morning.
Right. And then in my mind, I used to always fight with this. I'm like, well, like, my dude, I ain't seen you all day. Like, I'm just trying to be with you right now. But you're like, no, no, no.
I got to do
I
this
need you to get
first.
upstairs so I can do this first. And then normally what happens is that by the time you finish doing that, I'm like, well, I'm asleep.
Right.
I'm like in third rim.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I'm getting up early, and then so it's like it's easy for us to disconnect in that span of time, because it's like when you think about how much time, especially when I think about how much time I actually have free
Hmm.
in a day, with the work,
Like just to yourself.
like I mean, or just to be home, like
Hmm.
during the workday, it's like it's a small amount of time, and every minute counts. Like
Right.
once I walk through that door from work, every minute counts,
Hmm.
and I do think that's probably why we kind of like I kind of some weekends I kind of like stick to your hip on the weekend,
Hmm.
because it's like, well, I know I'm not gonna come Monday through Friday. I'm not gonna really see her.
And it was even tighter like when I had to go out for work.
Oh yeah,
Because we had complete opposite work schedules, and at that time our daughter went to daycare. And I lived, I mean, I worked like 45 minutes away from home, and her daycare, like from our house, was like what, 20 minutes from the house.
Mhm.
So then I would have to leave from where I worked, which was 40 minutes from the house, to drive all the way back over to the other side of town to pick her up, to come all the way back home, do all of those things. You weren't getting off work until like 10 o'clock at night, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and having to do all the things in the house to prepare for her to get, get ready for bed, prepare everything to have for us to have for the morning. So I mean, it's really easy to disconnection can happen. It's really easy to get disconnected. I also kind of feel like it's a normal part of relationship,
Mhm.
right? It's the ebb and flow of relationship. You both are individuals. You still have individual responsibilities that you have to tend to, and that's going to pull you apart at times. But I say that to say it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse,
Right.
right? It's not an excuse because you also recognize the things that are pulling you apart. Um, and it's your responsibility to try to put forth just as much effort in trying to reconnect,
Right.
reconnect those
And you
parts.
have to understand that you have to put the same effort in during the marriage and during the relationship as you did when you didn't know each other. So
Right.
like that during the courting phase, or like like the elders used to say, the same thing that got your baby hooked is what's going to help you keep your baby wherever this however it's saying going.
I was like, how
Like
do they say
whatever
it?
the saying is, like you literally have to do the work. You have to constantly do the work, and it's
Yeah.
so it's like it's not to say that sometimes like both sides are going to be on autopilot sometimes because you just get used to the norms of things,
You fall into the mundane.
but you still have to take the time to do the work in order to have a thriving, fruitful marriage and relationship.
Right. I agree. So when it like the spending time, daily routine, kids, opposite schedules, what are some of the things that you are think important to get back on track of reconnecting?
I think the most important thing is the time together.
Hmm.
And granted, I understand that that may not be something as easily accomplished
Right.
because of schedules and
Get creative
because
though.
right. So like I will like I'll start doing such thing as like I'll just send you random texts, or
Yeah.
I'll just call you randomly, see what you're doing, or I'll send you like a random
Or we sit in the car.
right. And it's
Hmm.
like so I'll do like so I'll try to steal as much time as I can, or I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice an hour of sleep tonight just to stay up a little later with my baby. No, so it's things like that. Like you have to understand like you're gonna have to sacrifice and make adjustments sometimes in life in order to have that time to reconnect with
Yeah.
your partner.
Like I think about, like I would say, think about like your dating years, right? Talking on the phone, texting each other, going out to lunch, even something as simple as like picking up a Starbucks or something. The time where you wanted to impress each other,
Hmm.
the time where you wanted to look good for somebody, for your partner, the time where you wanted to engage them in something that they were interested in, whether it be conversation, about like their favorite topic or whatever. And even if it's not anything about, like my husband's really into anime, right? I really don't even know what be going on, but
And
he
he's
would.
fire.
I like to think that you were very surprised when you asked me. You thought you were being slick. You were like, "What's two animes that I watch?" And I gave you the titles of them, and you were like, "Okay, but what they about?" And I was like, "I don't know what they about." I don't know what they about, but I made a point that after you watched them, I went back to at least look at the titles so that when we had another little mini date in the morning, that could be something we talked about, because I know that's something that you're interested in. And then like to see how you smile when you think that I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't know what
You
I'm
don't.
talking
You
about.
don't. You know. It'd be cute though.
I like to think that you're impressed by the effort.
It'd be cute though.
That's what I'd like to think. So, it's just like doing those little things. I don't, like I said, I don't know what'll be going on in anime, but I know he likes it. I know he likes it.
You know,
So I'm gonna try to make an effort to
but
at
you know
least
that.
have a conversation with my husband about something he likes.
But, I mean, because you know that at this point in my life, all I watch is anime. I don't really watch
Right.
either has to be anime or comic book movie. Or comic book related. I'm not gonna watch it. I
Yeah.
don't really subscribe to newer TV or anything like that. But it's like at the same time, I know that my if it's like what I say you watch murder.
All right.
if the show
True
ain't got
crime.
if the show ain't got nothing to do with murder or some type of assault
What?
or some
Some type
drama.
of assault?
Yes, I don't want to say the actual, but it's like,
Okay.
but I know like
Are
if
you
it,
talking about Law and Order SVU?
it's gonna be law. It's gonna be SVU. It's gonna be trapped sisters who kill. It's gonna be
Shout out to Sisters Who
it-
Kill because that is my
it's gonna
podcast.
it's gonna be something where somebody has murdered or done some dirt, whether it's regular crime or blue collar crime, white collar, no matter what, it's gonna be something crime related. And I'm like, I have no interest in this.
It's
Like,
good
I would
TV.
rather watch a documentary about how baseball bats are made.
Bye.
Watch,
Bye, Maurice. Goodbye, Maurice.
watch SVU.
Goodbye.
But it's like
Goodbye.
at the same time, it's like I'll still sit down occasionally and watch like certain movies like that you like. I will
Yeah.
watch the suspense thrillers and stuff like that
In an effort to reconnect.
because I understand that this is something important to you. Not only are we together, we're doing something that you like. So it's
Right.
not it's not about me. It's about us. And I'm
Right.
trying to reconnect with you to show you know that hey, I am your husband and your partner, and I'm still your friend.
Right. I love that. When I think about like the opposite schedules, like trying to reconnect on that level where you guys are basically like strangers in the night, I think about when we used to leave notes. Remember how I put like a note on your lunch?
I never left notes for you.
No, I'm talking about when I left notes for you, like on your lunch and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that.
I hate that you stopped. I used to love that.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to be nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But what I would do is I would leave him notes. Like I would leave him if I didn't get up that morning to like grab his stuff for him, there was a note on his lunch inside the refrigerator. There was a note on the refrigerator. When you
Coffee maker.
on the call, I would leave him on the coffee maker. When he would open up his lunch at work, there was a note in there. But that was just my way of like still trying to communicate with him and still trying to let you know, like, hey, I love you. I see you. You out there working hard. I know we haven't had a chance to reconnect, but I'm hoping that these notes can,
And on the flip side of that, it was a way of her knowing that I would be thinking about her throughout the day.
right, right.
So it
Because
was a little self motivated.
it, okay, but yes, I knew it brought a smile to his face
Yeah, it did.
every day, right? And I have this big rule about when we leave the house in the morning, I don't like anybody to leave the house not on positive vibes, right? So I don't want to get into it in the morning before we leave the house. I don't want our daughter to be upset in the morning before we leave the house. When we all leave the house, we are going to be a happy family, okay? I don't care what we got to do to make that happen, but nobody leaves this house in the morning on a bad foot, on a bad note.
Mhm.
Even if we get bad news, we are going to try to turn it around so that when we hug and kiss each other goodbye, we all going to leave on a good note, okay? So like I said, when you feel that disconnect, trying to make the smallest efforts to reconnect, it's like there's no excuse. Like, it can be something as simple as sending your partner a note just to remind them that I love you. Like, and even if we're not seeing eye to eye right now, even if we're not the closest, a note, and especially if it's something out of the ordinary that you don't normally do, like surprise your partner with a note.
Right.
They'll be like, wait, what?
Like, do you remember when I used to randomly text you R&B lyrics?
Yes. Yes, I do.
How you like that?
I did.
And then I
I
stopped.
loved that. I also, just because, side note, this just made, when you said that, it reminded me of the letter you had wrote me in
We're not
high
talking about
school. Well, now I have to share.
Oh god.
In high school, he wrote me a love note, y'all. It was a love letter. But in the love letter, he used the title of Love Songs, expressing his love to me, and then made a CD to play along
Right.
with the songs as I read them
doubled
in the
down.
in the love note.
I doubled down.
You did. I was like, oh, this boy put some time into this. It was a long letter. I was like, I said, my baby love me.
And then I had to pick out the songs and make them make sense better.
In the letter.
That took work.
That's
And
what
I
I
think that was
appreciated the most.
I don't think you
because
appreciated it enough how much work I had to put in.
I did. Even back then, I
Then I had
appreciated
to
it.
log on the LimeWire and find those
Oh
songs.
no, not LimeWire.
Risk virus.
But it's those things, like, I recognize how much time that took, and
Mm.
that's what impressed me. That's what made me feel like this boy loved me so much that he done took a whole damn afternoon to write me a
What?
love letter with love songs in it and the CD to play while I listen, like
Bro,
while I read the love note.
I should have been playing Madden.
I don't know. But yeah, so like even just things like that. And for me, when you take the time out to like text me stuff like that, not only does it let me know that you're thinking about me, excuse me, I'm starting to sound stuffy. You're thinking about me, but it's the fact that you like took the time out of your day,
Mhm.
right? Because you be gone for like 13 hours, 14 hours if you include drive time to and from work. And you still, even throughout the day, are still sending me text messages like titles of songs or I love you, babe, or you look good, or like whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Or the famous "What's my daughter doing?"
Gosh. The same thing she's always doing, putting on a show. Um, Another thing with reconnecting, especially when you have kids, like I know it can be harder to get those times alone when you have kids. We have one, and we have friends. Actually, all of our friends have multiples. I think we're the we're
We
the
learned our lesson.
right, we're the only ones that have one. So we know how difficult it is to really try to get some actual quality time alone where you actually plan a date night or a weekend away um with children, and we only have one, so we can only imagine what it's like with people who have like more than one. But it's really, really important that you at least carve that out, because you're not you're going to be doing your kid a disservice too when you guys are not connected. Like even if you think you're shielding your child from the discord that's happening between you and your partner, I promise you, like kids know our child is 6, and she it's like it's the energy that mom and dad puts out when mom and dad are not on one accord. So it's really important to try to carve that time out as much as possible. If you've got to call a friend to ask if they can babysit, if you're fortunate enough to have grandparents that live close by, like take advantage, but you have to make it
You
work.
you have to spend time with your wife or your partner
Mhm.
alone, one on one.
One on one.
Because a lot of times when we
And
do
not talk about the kids.
right,
That's another
because a
thing.
lot of times when we spend time one on one, I look at her like, oh, I really do like this motherfucker. Like
Right.
she really, like she
Right.
really is. Like okay, so
We say that to each other all the
right,
time. Like,
right.
oh damn, I really actually like you though.
Like
For
so,
real though.
like so, like all the things that was irritating me this week was just because I probably just needed to be with you a little longer.
Yeah.
So it's like it's important to have those conversations because I know like one thing that like you had said the other day, the one thing that you like is when we get together and we have like really deep intellectual conversations about
Hmm.
random topics. And a lot of times I'll be like, I don't really want to talk about this, but let's
Let's
just
see where this
let's see where
goes.
this goes. And a lot of times, I'll just play devil's advocate, just disagree with you, just so you can keep talking, because I know you
Wow.
want to talk about it.
Wow.
Just be
Just when you think you had a friend.
that's me being your friend.
Oh, okay. But it's true. Like once you're able to reconnect, it's like sometimes you'll look at your partner and you'll be like, I actually do like you.
You pretty
Excuse
cool
me.
people.
I actually do like you. You know what I mean? Like you as a person, you still can make me laugh. You still goofy as all outdoors. Like you get that little pocket, like I said the other day, you get that little pocket, that little remnants of like the boy I fell in love with.
Mhm.
When I see you excited about something. And we don't get that often, unless we're trying to be intentional about our connection, unless we're trying to be intentional about our relationship and our time together. So, all in all, everybody goes through it, especially if you're in a committed relationship, a monogamous relationship. It's gonna go through ebbs and flows. It's not always gonna be a happy time. Your low time, it can persist for weeks, months. Some people, like I've talked to, have had low blows for years. But it's all in how much effort and work you put into your relationship and put into your partner. But you're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to feel the feels. If you're angry about something, tell your partner, know how your partner is going to react to things. If there's something that you need to talk to them about that you're feeling like they're going to be defensive about, maybe you need to readjust your approach.
I think and I think when it comes to having these conversations with your partner, you need to use empathy. Like
Yeah.
you have to understand. Like, granted, you may be upset by the situation, but are you upset? You have to really understand that you're upset with the situation, not the person,
Right.
right? So, I mean,
What if you upset with
I mean, sometimes it can be the person, right? But it's not necessarily the person; it's the actions. It's not who they
right?
are,
It's not
right?
like who
So
they
it's
are.
not
Yeah.
like the person isn't the cause;
Yeah.
it's the action behind it that you're upset
Yeah.
with.
And it's
So,
attached to the
so
person and that's
you
pissing you off.
right. So but you need to have that conversation with empathy. Like you have to understand that there's feelings on both sides, but we need to work together. Like it's not not to be cliche. It's not me against you. It's not me versus you, but it's us versus the issue,
The issue,
right?
right.
So that's
Right.
fine. Excuse me. Let's find the common ground, and or either a common ground or a solution that works best for both of us.
Right. Because I mean, it doesn't feel good. Like, who wants to be locked in with somebody and you just don't like the person you're locked in with? I mean, and if you've made every effort to try to reconnect and you still don't like your partner, I'm gonna suggest therapy. I'm gonna just go ahead and suggest some therapy and then move on from there. But it's perfectly normal. Like, I think that's the whole point that I want to get to. Because when I talk amongst like my friends and in my inner circles and other moms, it's real easy to feel like you go through these things by yourself. It's real easy to think that your relationship is like something's wrong with your relationship because this very thing is happening where you guys are not
Right.
connected and things like that. And when we start talking, like me and my other mom friends, when we all start talking about the same exact issues that we're dealing with our husbands or with our partners. You know what I mean? But it's so easy to feel like you are in it alone. You are not in it alone. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast, is because the things I know that we're going through, we can't possibly be the only people that go through it. Like, when I speak to like elders and stuff who have been in this relationship marriage game for decades, it's like, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's just a part of it.
Right.
You ain't seen nothing yet. So that was one of the reasons why we even wanted to do the podcast. It's because it's like, you're not doing it alone. You know what I mean? And we have to be our own village. So that's pretty much it. But y'all need to get out there, reconnect with one another, make it fun again, find out why you loved the person and picked the person that you're with in the first place.
I think one thing you can do to reconnect is because I mean we did this one time,
What?
right? Think back to like one of like your most like memorable dates
Uh-huh.
before life got serious,
Hmm.
and then just try to recreate that date. Like we did that one
Yeah.
time where we went and we got our chili cheese fries, and
Hmm.
we went and drove to the old park,
And sat in the back
sat in the
seat.
park, watched some just try
Yeah.
and it's like if just try that to reconnect, because if you didn't have a connection or didn't love that person, you wouldn't be there through the rough times, right?
Right.
So that's what you got to understand. Like, yes, I do love this person. We're just going through a difficult time right now, but we can get out of this. But it is going to take actions and participation
And
on
efforts.
both sides.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't give up without putting the effort in.
Yeah. Like, if you've put the effort in, you both have put the work and the effort in, and it still feels like a hole in the mud that you can't dig yourself out of, then I feel like you need to start having
Right.
other conversations about maybe you need a third party assistant.
Right. Because it is
And then going from there.
because
Even though I think therapy is good for everybody.
because it is possible, just like like it's possible to grow together, it is possible
To
to
grow
grow
apart.
apart.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, like you said, that disconnect from growing apart cannot be mended without some natural help
Yeah.
or work. But it all boils down to if you are actually willing to
To
do
do the
the
work.
work.
Yep. Well said. I think that was good, babe.
Was it?
Yeah. I think that was good.
Uh-huh.
I can't with you. So, yes, I hope you guys were able to take away from today's podcast with something I hope that helped somebody. If you guys feel like you need any extra help or if you have questions or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Right
You
in.
can always write into us as well at life after I do podcast at gmail.com. So leave us a little note, or if you have any questions, or maybe there's something you want to hear us discuss.
Or you can comment under the YouTube or on the Facebook page or
Mhm.
whatever you want.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure my wife will respond.
If goodbye. But yeah, if there's a topic that you guys would like for us to discuss too, or if you had a question for us to answer, same thing. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here, and until next week, we will see you all later.
Later, Gator.
Peace.
We out. Peace.